Warning, the following video contains false information and is meant for entertainment only. It also contains violence, sexual conduct, profane fucking language, and annoying robotic text-to-speech voices. If you are offended by any of the above, get a fucking sense of humor. Your discretion is advised.
Everywhere you look, there's a heart, a hand to hold on to. Everywhere you look, there's a place for somebody who needs you. Everywhere you look, when you're lost out there and you're all alone, life is waiting to carry you home. Everywhere you look. Everywhere you look.
Bag, the patterns are swell.
Hello my faithful faggots, my name is Pickles, the gayest man in the universe, and today I am here to explain to you why I declined playing the role of the titular protagonist from the 1997 spy comedy Austin Powers International Man of Mystery. The success of Rugrats was at the height of its popularity, and yours truly was starting to gain a cult following among the fanbase. In fact, I had become so much of a household name that I was approached by comedian and SNL veteran Mike Myers and director Jay Roach, who said that I would be perfect for the role of an up-and-coming coming movie that Myers wrote called Austin Powers, about an international spy who uses his sexual prowess to subdue his enemies. And even though Rugrats was already well into production of its fourth season, I naturally took this opportunity to boost my image as a character actor by starring in this comedic take in the spy genre. In fact, there were a number of characters in the Speakonia community who auditioned for the role in this film. For instance, the Ketchum clan matriarch Delia Ketchum auditioned for the part of Vanessa Kensington. Friar Tuck auditioned for Basil Exposition, but was declined the part for obvious reasons, and even my real-life nemesis the Pube Muppet auditioned for the role of the film's main protagonist, Dr. Evil, because he figured trying to kill off my character in a movie would be the closest he would ever get to having actual satisfaction. But I'm sure a lot of you watching this video have already glued yourselves to your seats with the amount of seminal fluids overflowing from the confines of your undergarments, wanting to know all the sexy swell suggestions I made while the film was in its earliest production stages. So without further ado, let's get on with it for swellness sake. Firstly, there is the scene where Austin Powers is being brought back after being frozen since the 1960s to take on the threat of Dr. Evil, who has reappeared in the present-day 90s. One of the swell suggestions I made was that Austin was actually being preserved in a giant block of frozen semen, and the swell method of defrosting him was with the collective streams of several dozen strapping young buffs of man-meat to melt the frozen semen, and it would all sound like nothing like a golden shower to start your morning bag. Yes, that would have been swell. Speaking of the film's female lead Vanessa Kensington, as you may have guessed, the thought of co-starring with an female made me want to vomit the 10 gallons of seminal fluids that I chugged down from my fattest husband Barney the triple-testicled dildosaur's mastodonic love sausage, and would have rather had one of my many lovers in the Barney bunch be partnered up with me instead, but more on that later. Next is the scene where Austin and Agent Kensington infiltrate the casino in Las Vegas, where Dr. Evil's number 2 resides to gain the information they need in Dr. Evil's secret location. In a restroom scene, one of Dr. Evil's henchmen, Patty O'Brien, tries to choke Austin with his Lucky Charm bracelet, but Austin catches O'Brien and puts his head in the toilet, drowning him. I naturally wanted to extend the scene, where Austin would pull down O'Brien's pants and begins to interrogate his tight asshole, and it all sounds like who does number 2 work for bitch. And yes, I am indeed after your Lucky Charms. Using said Lucky Charms is what else? Dildos bag. Yes, that would have been swell. The next scene would involve Austin doing a reconnaissance mission by making love to number 2's secretary, a lot of vagina. Hearing that dreaded Paul name alone just made me want to bork. I begged and pleaded with Mike Myers to change the script so that number 2's secretary, instead of being a woman, would actually be a cross-dressing man named Tuggin Mapuda, and that we would have an extended ass-fisting scene in the hot tub like yeah baby, now this is what I call digging for evidence bag. Yes, that would have been swell. And although they didn't obviously go with the script change, Mike Myers did like the name Tuggin Mapuda and would decide to use it in another film script he would write years later. Anyways, there was a lot of problems on set when first filming Pube's scenes as Dr. Evil, mostly because the scenes involving Dr. Evil's son, Scott Evil, who was at the time played by Pube Beaker, were difficult to film the dysfunctional father-son banter between the two characters, because no one could understand Pube Beaker except for Pube Muppet, so naturally they had to deny him satisfaction and fire Pube Beaker from the role. This of course got Pube Muppet upset as well, and started doing this whole what kind of piece of shit establishment routine, and promptly walked out on the rest of the film. Good, now that this production was pube-free I could get back to making my own little contributions uninterrupted. Then there's the scene that really got my hopes up, and that was when Austin went up against Dr. Evil's Finbots, where Austin would use his sex dance to make the Finbots malfunction, causing their heads to explode. And although the idea of blowing up the head of an erg female put a smile in my face, I actually suggested something sweller. You see, I wanted it so that all the Finbots would be hot sexy man-bots, and the swell method of subduing these literate love machines would have a similar outcome. Only instead of doing a sexy dance I would be speed jacking off their hydraulic joysticks, which would sound something like against the machine. Good thing I had Tony Little teach me how to do this while he was practicing his new technique, the speed rate force. Foreshadowing. And then all their heads would simultaneously fly off of their bodies, as a mixture of oil and seminal fluids start to gush out of every orifice. Yes, that would have been swell. At this point you've probably guessed that Mike Myers got sick and tired of all my disgusting suggestions and fired me from the film's productions and prompted to play the roles of both Austin and Dr. Evil himself. And that's the story of how yours truly almost became the star of Austin Powers. But just so you know, if I was in charge of the script I would have made sure that this movie as well as all its sequels would feature all my love partners as members of the Barney Bunch. For instance, Barry Perfect would be playing Basil Exposition, Tony Little would replace Vanessa Kensington as Vinnie Kingston, Ronald the Penis Clown McDonald would replace Felicity Shagwell as Nuggets Humperdinck, and the cross-dressing man-titty sporting fun of the Fanny Bandit Bandicoot would replace Foxy Cleopatra as Brick Shit Bang-a-ling. And don't think I forgot about my fattest husband Barney, as he would be playing the role of the villain Fat Bastard. Rodney Perfect would be playing the Dutch and very toy gold member. Frau Farbissino would be played by Yagami Gay Boy Light. And last but not least, our newest recruit Wallace the Man Cheese Mechanic would play the role of Dr. Evil, along with one of our youngest members Caillou playing Mini-Me. Seth Green would retain his role as Scott Evil, because all of us in the Barney Bunch find that scrawny bit of Jewish man meat to be sexy as hell. And each film would end with all the main cast engaging in a mega bum bum rump orgy to the sound of what the world needs now is Love Sweet Love playing in the background. Yes, that would have been sweller than the Austin Powers films that we actually got. Well, thanks for listening, and be sure to stay tuned for more erotic tales of interest with your favorite embodiment of all things sexually swell, Drew Pickles. Pirates of your ass, please refer to later. Peace out.
Hello?